So we're talking today, as we have been over the last couple of months, about misunderstood words. And today I think this is one of the primary words that we get wrong when we read Swedenborg. When we talk about charity, one of the things we have to understand when we read it in the teachings of the church is charity is not good works. It's not what you do. And this is a very important thing to bear in mind. Oftentimes when I've met someone who's not heard about Swedenborg, not heard about the new church, and they've asked me, what is it you teach? What is it you believe? And I describe our doctrines. When I talk about this word charity, so often people say, oh, you believe in good works, salvation by good works. But that is simply not the case. The problem is the use of this word, which I'll show you in a little while. And one of the issues comes back to another word, and it is this one, good. We use this word good on a number of different levels. So we talk about an action being good or not. Okay, something is good or it is not that we do. But what do we mean when we say that a person is good? Now, I just want to mark this with a caveat. Yes, if you think about what Jesus said, Jesus was approached by one of the teachers of the law who said, good teacher, and his response was, nobody is good but God. So we have to hang on to that. Nevertheless, good can exist within our lives. So what do we mean when we say a person is good? What we mean is a person who is good is someone who has good intention to those around them. They have goodwill to the people that they meet. So it's not just that their actions happen to be good, it's that they mean something good by them. They are looking for a good outcome. Now, here's an example of a saying which gives us a sense of what's going on. I think we had this as a fridge magnet or something or other. I seem to remember, I remember it in the house. We had this saying, you can give without loving, but you cannot love without giving. Can you get the distinction that's being made there? So you can do something that is good for someone, but actually the intention behind it is not good at all. Now, there's a lovely film that was released about 20 years ago by the name of Spanglish. I wonder if anybody's seen this movie. It's about a fairly wealthy white couple in America. They hire this Spanish lady standing in the background as a housemaid. But it's not her that I particularly want to dwell on, it's the mother and the daughter, because it illustrates this saying quite well. There's a point in the movie where the mother goes shopping and she buys her daughter an outfit. The daughter is pleased to be given these lovely clothes. It's a lovely jacket that she's given to wear. She takes it into her bedroom to put it on. She puts it on and it doesn't fit, and she's disappointed. She comes back out with the jacket on and not fitting. The buttons won't do up. And then we discover the mother's real intention. The jacket is a way of criticising the daughter's weight. She is, in her mother's eyes, too heavy. She needs to lose some weight. And if she loses some weight, she'll fit this beautiful jacket. So you can get this idea that an action which appears good at first, the motivation behind it is something entirely different. So we use this word good in a couple of different ways, you see. There's the good action, the thing you do, and then there's the motive behind it. So I want to share with you something from the teachings of the church that I read a couple of weeks ago now, but I found this was really useful. So he says there are three things which fully constitute and form each universal essential. Namely, and here's the three levels: the good of love, the truth from that good, and the good of life therefrom. And he continues and says, the good of life is the effect of the other two. That lowest level, the action that we do, is the effect of the other two. For unless there is the good of life, then the good of love and truth from that good can have no existence. So the idea is, if we have good, if we have love in our hearts, it must come out. It must be made manifest. It must be acted upon. But the good of love that Swedenborg is talking about is this word charity. It is an internal quality. It is the sense of desiring what is good for another person. Whenever Swedenborg uses that term charity, that is what he means. I want to share another passage with you. Essentially, charity towards the neighbour is an affection for goodness and truth, and a recognition of oneself as being nothing but evil and falsity. Indeed, the neighbour is one and the same as goodness and truth. And to have an affection for these is to have charity. Anyone, therefore, who has charity towards the neighbour is moved by an affection for goodness and truth because they come from the Lord. And such a one turns away from evil and falsity because these come from himself. Now, one of the really interesting things about that passage, he talks about this idea of charity not focused on the person in front of you, but focused on qualities of goodness and truth. That is what charity is.
Is it good intention then? Or?
Good intention. Yes. Good intention, that's right. And from that good intention springs the actions that you carry out. All right, I want to quickly go back and just talk about the Deuteronomy passage that I read and just highlight a couple of points for you. So in verses 7, 8, 9 and 10, but I've just highlighted a couple of passages here. Notice how it says, "You shall not harden your heart nor shut your hand from your poor brother. Open your hand wide to him and willingly lend. Your heart should not be grieved when you give to him." Now, the Expositor's Bible Commentary talks about this focus on the seventh year. Do you remember it talked about the seventh year, the year of release? And in the sixth year, if you were to give your poor brother something, you know that the following year you've got to forgive it, you've got to release it. So the Expositor's Bible Commentary focuses on that and as an example of the kind of bad thinking we can get into. I know I've got to give it up, I've got to release it, I've got to forgive it next year, so I'll hold on to it. You see, that's one of the things it suggests. But what I particularly want to focus on is it says, do it joyously. Do it with a sense of joy and enjoy the giving. Not just the fact of the giving. You see, it's about the heart. It's about the motivation behind it as much as it is about the action. I'll move on to this one. These two verses, verse 4 and verse 11, because in a way they're kind of contradictory. Verse 4, it says, "Except when there may be no poor among you." So the idea was you're going to do this until there's nobody left to do it to. You know, when everybody has sufficient for their needs, you won't need to lend anymore. And it's a promise. But then in verse 11 it says, "For the poor will never cease from the land." And it's almost contradictory. Expositor's Bible Commentary again suggests that there's this promise about the promised land, that eventually the people will establish themselves and be blessed so much that they don't need to worry about this sort of thing. But then, as I say, verse 11 contradicts it. What I'm going to suggest is we need to think about these things as within ourselves. When we live with this spirit of charity, this spirit of generosity, then the Lord blesses us. It doesn't bless us in material ways. He blesses us with feelings of goodness. But what we have to hang on to from verse 11 is there will never be a time when we don't need to rely on the Lord for goodness and truth to exist within us. We will always have that within us which tends to pull us away from charity. We need to be acting on that charity all the time, even despite ourselves. And the final section, just a couple of sections to dwell on, is the idea of the foreigner. Of a foreigner you may require it, but you shall give up your claim to what is owed by your brother. There's also then in verse 6 it says, you shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow. You shall reign over many nations, but they shall not reign over you. And these seem kind of odd statements to make. You know, are they promises or are they requirements? Is this something the Lord is asking of us, or is this something the Lord is promising to do for us? It's kind of difficult to get our head around. The thing is, again, these are inner states we're talking about. You know, what is the difference between a foreigner and a brother? We're not to concentrate, as I said before, on the person in front of us. We're to concentrate on attitudes of goodness and truth. That is the brother. The foreigner we are to put away or to discard is the evil and falsity that we tend to implement ourselves, that we tend to follow. So it's not about showing favour to those who are like us and shunning those who are different. It's about what qualities rule us and determine our actions. So we're always asked to look at these higher internal spiritual principles as being primary. They are the things that are to rule. They are the things that will teach us, and they are the things that will control us if we are following the Lord. We're not to learn from those lower states, the states which tend to divide us from other people. We're not to be led by them. We're to be led by something higher.